right, greetings. This is Nawasha.
Hotep and Akoma, greetings to you all.
It's the Akoma House Initiative. Mon Shawty do. Today we're going to talk to you about something that is very important in all relationships. I'm going to give you a second to think about what it could be. It is communication. The one thing that people will always tell you could be better, needs to be better. Maybe you just had an argument yesterday or even a misunderstanding. We want to have effective communication. So, practically, we teach people how to really communicate. So it's something that you think you know how to do because you're speaking a language or, with another person. But the truth of the matter is we sometimes forget what our job is as a communicator.
The science of communication.
The science of communication. So there is a job as a speaker to be clear, to be direct, to say what you really mean, which a lot of times we don't do that, and it comes off as a rant, a put down, a nagging, or just all over the place. But there's also a job as a listener where your goal is to understand the speaker. So many times as a listener, we are ready with our debate in our head, we're ready with our comeback, we're ready to change the subject, and the goal is not to have higher understanding. The goal becomes who's a better wordsmith, or who's gonna win the argument. So we like to use these kinds of tools. This is an actual example of a mini sand timer that is a 2-minute timer that creates balance in a conversation. So directly, practically, we say, hey, you have a sensitive subject you want to talk about, here's the sand timer, you put it on the table, you have 2 minutes. This helps people who are all over the place, or wordy, or anything. It helps you to be clear and direct because you know you have 2 minutes. Marsha's putting that up for me. As a tool, you can see that it doesn't need to be a distraction. You can also use the timers that are on your cell phone. And after a while of practice, you won't even need to use this. But we want to make sure that we understand why there are miscommunications is because we're forgetting that we're supposed to be coming to a higher level of understanding. That's the whole purpose of us talking, expressing our ideas, including our frustrations and our happy times, but with the goal of coming to mutual understanding.
So when you come to the Akoma House Initiative, one of the things that we do with the sand timer is when we want to talk about something, and again, we don't just deal with the problems, we want to dispel that myth. When we want to strengthen the skill of communication, we pull out the sand timer and we create balance. That's what the sand timer does. Now, spiritually, the sand timer represents the duat, the in-between, because it is earth or terrestrial that moves like the spiritual waters. So it moves like water, but it's actually made out of terrestrial earth. So it was one of the symbolic representatives of the duat. Also, historically, the sand timers are just something that our people use to keep time. And so it's one of those things that was indicative to our cultures around the world that many of us use sand timers. And when you see some of the sand timers that are out there, they're very beautifully done, artistic, and but then also practically when you come to our service, we use these little ones in communication to bring out points, but also we have our sand timers that we use, very beautiful, that the session starts, we turn over the sand timer. Once it goes over once, we turn it over once, and then at the second time it goes out of an hour, then that's it, because we never do more than a 2-hour consultation or session. Most are an hour or so, but we never go beyond 2 hours. The point of the listener is to hear. So when the talker is talking, we turn it over, the talker says what they have to say, then when the time is up, the listener turns it over and not come with their comeback, like Nawasha said, but they tell the talker, this is what I heard you say, and this is what I understand that it means. Then the roles switch. Then the listener becomes the talker, they make their point.
But before the roles even switch, the speaker gets a chance to hear what was understood from the listener. Because that's sometimes where we skip in communication. Because that's your opportunity as a speaker to say, I didn't get my point across. I didn't do something clearly. I wasn't specific. Is there a better word I can choose? And a lot of our misunderstandings we resolve with a dictionary or something like that, you know, so that you can say to yourself, this is what I really meant by respect.
Right.
This is what I really meant by uncomfortable. Right. So when you have a chance to see your the interpretation of your words, it should help you be a better speaker and not blame the listener for a misunderstanding, but take responsibility for how you could clear it up. Right. And then the roles are switched, and then the speaker becomes a listener, and the listener becomes a speaker.
And then we go back to the same process, so that what it's creating is conversation balance. It gives us both equal time, like Nawasha said. If you're a run-on person like I can tend to be, it confines you to a specific amount of time, so you have to express the highest potency of your ideas in a specific amount of time. If you're a person who doesn't like to talk a lot, it gives you the skill and the practice at extending the expression, the variation of your expression, so that the person can understand it however they learn, as an audio person, as a visual person, as a kinesthetic person. So it deals with balance. And you can buy these sand timers. We have the exercises. Actually, we're going to be putting them up soon because we want to give you practical tools. The Akoma House Initiative always deals in this hierarchy. We deal with the cultural, spiritual, we deal with the historical, and then we give you a practical tool that you can walk away and use immediately to enhance the quality of your relationships. And the sand timer is one of the greatest examples that we have of such a tool.
So today, for the rest of the week, you can think about this in your communication. Think about how many times someone starts a conversation with you and you change the subject or it veers off someplace else. Do your job as a listener when people start conversations with you and give feedback to the person about what they are actually saying and see how your conversation changes. If you've had an argument or a little misunderstanding recently, you can replay where this went wrong. Were you not listening? Were you not understanding? And ask questions. Or were you not being clear? Were you being roundabout or vague, or some of the things that men and women can do?
And we say to that point, if you fighting, fight right. Use the sand timer and have a right fight. Have it be balanced, have it be clearly understood, and then you'll come out of it much quicker. You can race out of conflict and you can restore balance to whatever issue you're having, be it large or small. And so this is a tool that we use. If you want to get more in depth in the many ways that we use it, you can reach out to us via online, phone, etc. Our website, and go to the page and you can find a little bit more about the ways that we use the sand timer. And until we greet you again, as always, we leave you and greet you in peace and say, Nia Akoma. Time's up. I got some water on my shirt. That's all I got.